Hello, Graham from the leaseback team here, and I want to tell you all about the project at Vallorcine in the Chamonix Valley. I just want to really see whether this could work for you and your family as both an investment and as a holiday home in France. If you get my Wealth Watch newsletter, you've probably seen this as part of the leaseback Olympics that we did within that, and it was the gold medal winning project. If you don't currently get the newsletter, by the way, just go to wealthwatch.tv and you can register your details there, and I'll put you on the circulation from September. We've got about 1,200 people a month receiving that now and getting some great feedback from it. But the thing about this project for me is it's what I would call a perfect storm opportunity, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a few minutes. And I'm getting some interesting feedback now from UK-based investors. They've been a bit quiet for a while, but they're now starting to see that the French property market's got some unique characteristics that are making it more attractive than the British market. So I've had a number of investors in recent days saying to me, I'm no longer looking at buy-to-let in the UK. I'm actually looking at the French market, and it's really starting to generate a lot more interest, and this particular project is perhaps at the top of the list. If you've read my book, The French Property Secret, you'll know all about how the leaseback scheme works, but for anyone who's new to it, basically this is a French government subsidised scheme. You get a rebate of 19.6% VAT on the property. You sign a long-term lease with a management company who guarantee you your rental income, and they look after it for you. They maintain it, they pay all the utility bills, they insure it, they clean it every week, they handle obviously all the bookings and so on, and they just send the money to your bank account. It's a completely hands-off investment. It's also a very tax-efficient way to invest in a French apartment, because there's all sorts of things you can offset against your rental income under French law, so that you end up effectively not paying any tax for a very long time. If you don't actually have the book and you'd like a complimentary copy of it, just send me an email with your name and address details, and I'll send you a copy out in the next few days. So why do I think this is a sort of perfect storm project? Well, first of all, this is a project where the bank effectively pulled the plug on the original developer of it. Now, I know the developer personally, and he didn't do anything wrong. It's a fantastic project, great quality, great location, but as you may know, the banks have got very, very strict with business owners in the last few years, and for whatever reason, it's ended up being owned by the bank, and they basically now want to get it off their balance sheet, and they're reducing the prices to make them attractive for a quick sale in order to get them off the balance sheet, because banks don't like owning property in these circumstances. It's just like a repossession of a domestic home. The idea is they want rid of it quickly, and that's why people often snap up bargains in those circumstances. But the actual rent being paid stays the same. So as the price of the property comes down, the rental yield goes up, in this case to a whopping 4.6% net, which is a really fantastic return on any leaseback apartment, but for a ski one, that is at the very top end of what you'll ever see. So you're getting the best possible rental yield on this, and you'll see the impact of that on the financial numbers in a few minutes. Also, because we've got one of the top management companies involved, Eau de Lease, the second biggest company in France, the French banks really like a company like that. They're safe and secure, so they offer the highest percentage mortgages. So on this project, not only have we got low prices and a high yield, we've got 85% loan-to-value mortgages available from the French banks. And these are at record low interest rates, which means once you do all the numbers on this, you'll see that even with a capital repayment mortgage, you can almost cover the costs of the property. Now, back in the good old days of 2004-05, a lot of people were coming into leasebacks and buying them on an interest-only mortgage, because that covered all the costs and maybe had a small positive balance. What you're seeing here is almost covering the costs on a repayment mortgage. So you end up owning the thing outright, having made a very small contribution over the lifetime of the project. So this really is better than it was back then in the good old days, in the peak, if you like, of leaseback sales back in 2004-05. So part of the challenge, I suppose, that I'm throwing down to you is to adjust your own thinking, which is that, we're in a recession, isn't it all terrible, blah, blah, blah. The reality is, for people that are savvy, informed investors, there are deals like this out there which are better than things ever were in the good old days. And there's more icing on the cake, because the exchange rate's the best it's been for about 3 years. It's hovering around 126.5, 127, so that's really cool. And also, of course, you have very limited exposure to exchange rates with this kind of investment, because once you've made your initial deposit, there's a tiny amount of money that you're going to pay each month. So your exposure, because you've got your rent coming in euros and your mortgage going out in euros, it's only the difference that you have any currency exposure on. So it's a really small amount. And some of the best mortgage deals in history are available now. Some 20-year fixes I've seen at 3.85% and so on. These are just way better than anything you can get in the UK, and the best they've ever been in French history. So again, it does challenge us to change the way we think about this. Even when people were rushing and getting knocked over in the queue to buy these 8 years ago, they were paying way more in interest rates than you can get now. These are the best deals that have ever been offered in France. And here's the final icing on the cake. Normally when you invest in a leaseback project, it's off plan, and it's usually a sort of 12 to 24 month window while the construction project goes ahead. These are already built, so you can go and see them, you can touch and feel them, and as soon as you get to the legal completion process, you start receiving income. Perhaps in 8 or 10 weeks' time, you could be getting money in your bank account from this project. So these are all the reasons why I think this is probably the most exciting project I've seen for at least 3 years. If you look at the sort of emotional reasons to invest, I'm told that we tend to invest for emotional reasons and then try and find logic to justify it. Well, I know a lot of people do dream of owning a ski apartment, and you're talking about one of the most popular ski areas in the world, in the beautiful French Alps. Who wouldn't want to have an apartment there? And the point with this is, you start to create family memories that you'll treasure forever. And as I get a bit older, I start to realize that this ain't the rehearsal, and we need to get on and do the things we want to do in life and create those memories while we can. And the kids will be grown before you know it. Why not teach them to ski? Why not be there with them, have some quality time away from the pressures of your working life? And also, let's be honest, there's a certain dinner party bragging rights in talking about your place in the French Alps, and doesn't go do any harm at all. But as Mr. Spock would say, we have to disregard emotion and acquire logic. So let's look at it from a logical point of view. We all like to think we're getting a bargain, and what's happened here is this is effectively a great big repossession. So the bank wants it off their balance sheet, so they've reduced the prices. But we've also got a top management company in there, Odalise. We've got high mortgages at 85%. We've got a brilliant net rental. Don't forget, that's 4.6 of the full purchase price. And they've already paid things like the taxe d'habitation, which is the council tax. They pay all the heating bills, the maintenance, the cleaning, the insurance, and you still get 4.6%. And there's another benefit that's not even written down there. Most leaseback projects, like any apartment you live in, have a kind of a co-ownership group, a residents association that looks after the common parts like the lifts and the stairwells and so on. Here, you don't have to pay any contribution towards that syndic, that co-ownership group. So that will save you probably another €100 a month. As you'll see, the ongoing investment required works out at probably less than a cup of coffee in Starbucks each day. If you want to, we can set up a small French company entity for you, which gives you maximum flexibility on how you pass the asset on to future generations, because French inheritance law is different to British law. So there's a little vehicle we can set up for you there that maximizes your options. And if you look at the actual amount of cash you'll put into an investment like this, and then try and work out the return you'll get as you end up owning this property completely, with all of these holiday makers very kindly paying your mortgage for you, you'll see the ROI is absolutely fantastic. And something that I feel increasingly is important, if you've been reading my Wealth Watch newsletter, you'll know that this is a real hobby horse of mine. I want to be in real, solid, inflation-proof assets. I believe there's some serious inflation coming as the whole of this fiat currency and money printing and quantitative easing just falls apart like a house of cards. And when that happens, it'll be the people owning the real assets, whether that's property, whether that's gold, whether that's oil, those are the things that will have real value in the future. So, and also for me, I think there's some value in having some of those assets in a different country. We've already had the famous Gordon Brown pension raid here. I'm pretty sure these guys are going to do some more as well. Some of the statements coming out of George Osborne are scaring me to death. I really think that having assets outside the UK is a very good idea. Now, Phil and Kirsty tell us that location is the most important thing. Well, you've certainly got that with this project. It's in the Chamonix Valley, one of the most popular skiing locations in France, if not the world. There's 145 different ski trails, 140 kilometers of piste, and some famous names. Perhaps the Grand Motet is one of the most famous. As well as the actual on-piste, there's some great snowboarding, some great powder and off-piste stuff, and loads of restaurants and facilities for the après ski. So you've got everything that you know about the Chamonix Valley, but in a way this is a best of both worlds project, because you're actually escaping the real sort of manic crowds in the Chamonix Valley into the family-friendly resort of Vallorcine. So it's a much smaller resort, it's more like a hamlet, but there's still 8 ski lifts, one of them right next door to the property here. You've got access to La Balme ski domain with 19 runs, plus some others that are just a bus ride away. And of course you're only 70 miles from Geneva Airport, so you're also very accessible. So you've got all the facilities of Chamonix Valley on your doorstep, but you can step back from that into a more peaceful environment in your own place. It's called a Résidence l'Ours Bleu, which means blue bear, hence I think our little friend here. So as well as being, as I say, a great location, it is a genuine ski-in, ski-out facility. It's a 4-star development, and each apartment, and I'll show you some examples in a moment, has got both a large terrace and an underground parking space. There's an indoor heated pool and all the stuff you'd expect, spa and wellness centre, jacuzzi and sauna and all the rest of it. There's a restaurant and lounge bar, and you've also got your own ski locker in the building. But rather than just describing it, why don't I show it to you? Here's a photo. These are not artist's impressions, don't forget. The building physically exists. That's what it looks like. That's the reception area and the reception desk. Here's a typical apartment interior. As you see, nice quality furnishings, nice sort of alpine woodwork, flat screen TV, Wi-Fi and so on. All the facilities you'd expect in a 4-star ski apartment. And you can literally fall out of bed into the ski lift. So that's the building in the middle there. You'll just perhaps see the eau de lease sign on it, the blue sign. And to the right is the telecabine, the ski lift, that can take you up to the La Balme ski area, and it's 19 different ski runs. Here's the kitchen. I'll give you a clue for again, the quality of fittings in there. These are real high-end stuff. This is going to be a real home from home. You're not going to feel you're roughing it in a place like this. And those are the ski lockers, again, absolutely top-end equipment and plenty of it. I mentioned the management company. There's Eau de Lease. They have 311 projects, 110,000 beds, 2 million clients, 150 million turnover. So they are seriously big players. That makes them the safer option. If you look through, the history of the leaseback world, or if you Google the online forums, There have been some smaller management companies that have got into difficulties. That's why we tend to try and play safe and only go with the biggest and best players. And Odalise is rock solid, and that's why, again, this is a really perfect storm of a project, because you're not paying top-end prices, but you are getting top-end management company. There's two main options for personal use. If you're really serious into your skiing, you can get 6 weeks usage and still get 2% rent on top of all those other charges paid for. But probably my suggestion for most of us would be that we will take the 4.6%, and then for the 1 or 2 weeks that you want to go there, just take your 20% owner's discount from the brochure prices. It'll probably work out a better deal for you, and it gives you maximum flexibility rather than being locked into a particular pattern of a high and a low week, or 2 medium weeks, or whatever. You can have your own decision each year based on exactly what's happening to the family that particular year, as to when you go in the season, when the holidays fall, and so on. So you can make your own choices. So those are the two personal usage options. In terms of getting there, most of us, I would imagine, would fly to Geneva, which is around about 90 minutes away, so it's one of the more accessible resorts. But you can also get the train. The trains will take you all the way to Vallorcine, or you can drive if you follow the A40 from Geneva. So it's certainly accessible, and it's certainly not as difficult to get to as many of the ski resorts. So let's have a look at a few examples. Here's one apartment. This is B04. It's a nice large 2-bed, 63.5 square metre. As you can see, there's a full width terrace going from the top to the bottom here. Then you've got this large living dining area in the middle. Then you have one bedroom with an ensuite shower, the other bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. So that's a really, not only a large, but a nicely designed, nicely laid out, both rooms en suite, plus obviously you'd have a double sofa bed in here. So it is a 6-berth apartment. That's available at 311k euros net of VAT, with the parking and all the furniture and so on. Something slightly smaller, here's a 41 square metre 1-bed apartment B25, 2nd floor, southwest facing. This one has a full width terrace. It's got a nice big living dining area, and then the ensuite bedroom with the bathroom and so on in there. This one is 222,000 net of VAT. And one of the slightly smaller units, this one is a 1st floor 1-bed, and that is available at 216,000. Again, full width terrace, very similar layout, just a slightly smaller floor space, and that one's 216. Just a few comments from other people who've made leaseback investments. Jonathan Colborn said that he and his wife were grateful for making this financial dream a reality, and they've been recommending people to us ever since. And James and Jude Jarvis from St Margaret's, they said that the leaseback team know what they're doing. It is a very specialised area, and yes, we are the only UK company that's completely focused on French leaseback. So he's saying give us a call and see if it works for you. In terms of financing the project, I've mentioned there's up to 85% mortgages available. The best deals actually come at a 70% loan to value rate. So if you are able to put in a slightly bigger deposit, you will be able to take advantage of the very best mortgage deals. But as you'll see in a moment, there's still some excellent products on offer at the 85% level. You can take the mortgage out for up to 30 years, so provided you're not more than about 45, 50 years old now, you could still get a 30-year mortgage term, and you'd have the choice of either repayment, capped or fixed mortgages. And you'll see below this video you can download the investment qualification form, and once we've got that information we can see what would work for you and put a full financial simulation together for you. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is on the middle of those 3 apartments I showed you, apartment B25, which is a 41 square metre 1-bed. And as you'll see, there's a total investment, including all the legal fees, bank and broker fees and deposit and so on, that works out at about £35,000 sterling. But the more interesting figure, I think, is this one here. Normally when I see these simulations, that will be in the region of anything from 250 to 800 euros. Here it's just €72, and that works out at £1.84 a day. I'm not even sure you could get a Starbucks coffee for £1.84 these days. So it's less than a cup of coffee a day, and that truly makes this an exceptional project. And that's really why I wanted to bring it to your attention, because it's so accessible to so many people. As long as you've got a little bit of capital, let's say, somewhere in the sort of 30 to 40k range available to put into this, it virtually covers itself going forward. So it's one of the best ways of A, getting that investment that you wanted, and B, making that family dream a reality for the lowest possible cost. Now, apologies if you've seen this from me before, but I think it bears repeating. What a lot of people I talk to do is they find a project of interest, they think about it, they keep thinking about it, they think about it some more, and maybe 3-4 weeks later they get round to calling me and saying, "Oh, have you got anything left in that place in Vallorcine?" And I say, "Well, there were only 19, and I'm afraid they've all gone." So that's one way of spending a month thinking about this. But here's the smart way of doing it. If you are genuinely interested, and we go through the process with you, reserve the unit. Put the 5% deposit down that actually reserves it. The money doesn't come to me, it doesn't go to the developer, it just sits in the French lawyer's escrow account until the end of the process. And then you'll get a contract pack. We'll usually have a meeting to go through all that with you. You sign and return that to France. It gets countersigned and returned to you, and from the moment you get it back, you still have another 7-day cooling off period before you have to decide. So all of that adds up to probably about the same 28 days elapsed as we had on the previous slide, but this time you're in control. The unit is off the market in your name while you do all your due diligence, while you apply for your mortgage, maybe go out there and look at the place. Then you can make your decisions in the light of that knowledge, but also in the light of knowing you've got that unit in your name if you want it. A couple of other comments. Joni from Utah said that the Paris leaseback project went very well and that we'd been very strong and responsive for her in that. Jonathan Payne makes an interesting point. He said it's an area that I knew nothing about, and I suspect that's the case for most people reading this. So you need someone who can educate you as you go through the process. There's never been any hard sell from Graham, and I like and trust him. So that is a point I want to make, that although obviously I need to make you aware of all this, there's no point in me doing a hard sell, because what I find is if this works for people, it really works for them, and I don't need to try and sell it. If it doesn't work for them, nothing that I say is going to change that. So I just want to present you with the facts, present you with what I think may be of interest to you, it may work for you, but only you can tell me if it does. And obviously the other thing is whether you qualify in terms of the numbers to see if it'll work for you. So just to summarize, there are 19 apartments remaining, so this is not a big project. We've had many projects in the past with 300 apartments. There are just 19. The prices have been reduced by the bank because they want them off their balance sheet, which means we've got great rental yield. You get access to all the facilities of the Chamonix Valley, but in a much smaller, family-friendly resort in Vallorcine. As you've seen hopefully from the photos, it's been a really well built and really well equipped building. We've got Odalys, second biggest management company in France, running it. We've got 85% mortgages and a 4.6% rental guarantee, and it is already built, so you can go and see it. Your income will start straight away. So here's what to do now. If you're genuinely interested, just click the link below this video and download the one-page investment qualification form. Just fill in your details on that and either scan it and email it back to me on graham@leaseback.co.uk, or you can fax it to 020 8332 7859, or you can post it to our new office at Leaseback Team, Wealth Invest Limited, 2 Eaton Gate, Belgravia, London SW1W 9BJ. And once we've got that completed form, we'll get back in touch with you to go through relevant apartments, to put financial simulations together, and then see if you actually want to go out there, and also obviously if you want to make a reservation. So I hope you find that of interest, and obviously please do get in touch if you have any other questions. If you do want to see whether it will work for you, just fill in that form, get that across to us, and we'll be back in touch very soon. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll hope to talk to you very soon.